You remember the exact moment it happened, when the air around you changed. A voice you trusted lowered just enough to slip the knife between your ribs, and for a heartbeat, you thought it was an accident. But betrayal never arrives with noise. It enters quietly, smiling, wearing the face of someone who once said they'd never hurt you. You stood there, still trying to process the weight of it, while the world revealed its true colors. No saints, no saviors, only players moving pieces you didn't know existed. That's when you realized the game had started long before you arrived, and you were the pawn everyone bet against. You kept asking why. Why they did it, why they smiled while they cut, why loyalty had an expiration date. But the truth was simpler and colder. They did it because they could. Because you were soft. Because your trust was a signal, not a shield. You mistook comfort for safety, routine for control, kindness for immunity. And in that delusion, you became predictable. The system loves predictable. It loves the ones who don't see the hands above the board. You called it peace, they called it preparation. You were not betrayed. You were tested, and you failed. But the pain carved something new. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped defending what didn't deserve you. You started listening to silence, and silence started talking back. It told you everything you needed to know about power. It told you how people who whisper too much end up being devoured by those who observe. The world began to slow down, not because it changed, but because you finally saw the gears. Every glance had a motive. Every offer hit a price. And every time you hesitated, someone else wrote the ending for you. Now, there's a shadow in your reflection that wasn't there before. A part of you that doesn't beg for fairness or understanding. A part that watches instead of reacts. The same people who once smiled at your softness now look uneasy around your stillness. They sense it, the shift, the recalibration, the quiet violence beneath your calm. You've stopped being readable. You've stopped being easy to predict. That's what frightens. They can't map what no longer moves by habit. They can't anticipate a mind that no longer plays defense. This is where it begins. The moment after betrayal, when the ashes still smoke, but your eyes no longer flinch. The pain becomes a mirror showing what survived the fire. You are not the wounded one anymore. You are the one who learned, the one who saw that loyalty without awareness is self-destruction. And when they ask what changed, you'll simply say nothing. You just started paying attention. Comfort kills, silence wins, weakness bleeds, and you've finally learned which one you'll never be again. Weakness doesn't arrive like a storm. It seeps in disguised as peace. It starts the day you trade discomfort for convenience, the day you silence the voice that tells you to move while the rest of the world sleeps. You called it balance. They called it rest, but it was surrender. It was the slow corrosion of your fire, one skipped challenge at a time. You stopped running toward pain, and pain learned to walk beside you, whispering, "Stay still." You listened. And in that stillness, you began to rot quietly beneath the illusion of calm. You thought weakness was failure. It isn't. Failure wakes you up. Weakness sedates you. It wraps itself around your habits and calls itself self-care. It praises your small wins so you forget you were meant for war. It teaches you to fear confrontation and worship validation. And you obey, smiling through the chains, mistaking applause for freedom. Every time you adjusted yourself to fit someone else's comfort, you cut another piece of yourself away. You blot in silence, then called the wound growth. That's how weakness wins, by making you believe it's kindness. Comfort became your religion. You built altars out of screens, sermons out of distraction. You stopped hearing the ancient language of struggle, the one your ancestors spoke through blistered hands and sleepless nights. You replaced it with dopamine prayers and plastic idols that promised ease. You thought you were safe, but the safest places are graves, perfectly quiet, perfectly controlled. The truth is, comfort doesn't protect, it paralyzes. It makes lions forget the taste of blood. It turns warriors into watchers. And you, once armed with potential, became predictable, tamed by repetition, weakened by the absence of risk. Weakness hides in small choices, the ignored alarm, the delayed decision, the half-truth told to keep the peace. You think no one notices, but your life does. Every compromise leaves fingerprints. Every avoidance rewires you into obedience. You don't lose your edge overnight. You dull it by pretending there's no war to fight. But there is. The battlefield isn't outside. It's between your hesitation and your instinct, between the voice that says, "Wait," and the one that whispers, now. Every second you hesitate, the world moves without you. Every second you seek permission, someone else takes your place. You were born sharp, ruthless, wired for survival. But somewhere you mistook gentleness for goodness and silence for peace. You forgot that the universe never rewards stillness, it rewards motion. You forgot that power isn't given, it's taken from the hands too tired to hold it. Weakness is a choice repeated until it becomes identity. And strength is the quiet rebellion that begins when you stop apologizing for your hunger. There's no middle ground anymore. Comfort kills, silence wins, weakness bleeds. Choose which one you serve. They built the walls of your mind before you ever learned to speak. Every smile, every warning, every small reward was a brick. They told you obedience was kindness, humility was virtue, and that silence meant weakness. But it wasn't silence they feared, it was independence. Because once a human starts thinking without permission, control becomes impossible. You've felt it before, that quiet resistance under your skin when someone tells you who you are. That's the part they've been trying to kill. The system doesn't need you free, it needs you predictable. It needs you tame. It needs you afraid of your own potential. You've been taught to equate comfort with safety and safety with happiness. But comfort is the leash. Every easy distraction, every validation hit, every fake smile that tells you you're doing fine. It's all anesthesia. They don't want you alert. They want you scrolling, pleasing, performing. Because when you're predictable, you're profitable. The algorithms don't read your thoughts. They read your pattern. They know when you'll wake up, when you'll quit, when you'll reach for dopamine. You're not free, you're managed. And every time you avoid discomfort, they tighten the leash one notch tighter. You think you choose loyalty. You don't. Loyalty was chosen for you. To family, to coworkers, to a country that calls you a citizen while treating you like a resource. They wrap manipulation in affection, and you accept it because it feels familiar. You mistake familiarity for truth and comfort for care. The trap isn't the cage. The trap is thinking the cage keeps you safe. They've made you afraid of silence because silence is when the noise stops lying. You scroll to escape your thoughts, not realizing your thoughts are the only thing that can save you. They whisper rules into your veins. Don't stand out. Don't think too loud. Don't make them uncomfortable. And you obey out of habit, not fear. But habit is how they erase rebellion. You censor yourself before anyone else has to. You dilute your ambition so no one feels threatened. And then you wonder why you feel invisible. That's the deal, invisibility in exchange for acceptance. But here's the truth. Every empire depends on the obedience of those who don't believe they're enslaved. There's a reason you've always felt watched. Because you are, not by cameras or governments, but by expectation. The invisible crowd that lives inside your head. They monitor your tone, your posture, your compliance. They applaud your restraint, not your fire. You call it maturity, they call it victory. But somewhere deep down, something ancient is stirring. A quiet awareness that none of this is real power. The real power is unpredictability. When you stop performing, they lose the script. When you stop needing to be seen, you disappear from their control. They can't predict your next move, not because you're hiding, but because you finally remembered you were never theirs to begin with. You stopped waiting for the world to understand you the moment you realized it was designed to confuse you. Every apology, every half smile, every word of advice from people who never bled for their own convictions, none of it holds power anymore. You've studied their moves long enough to know the pattern. Predictable kindness, disguised judgment, and carefully measured loyalty. They want you to play a role that keeps them comfortable, but you've stopped performing. The silence you carry now isn't weakness, it's strategy. You've learned that noise reveals intent, and intent is a map for those hunting you. So you burn it. Every unnecessary word, every easy answer, every piece of proof you once offered to be understood. The new rule is simple, no explanations, only execution. You move differently now. Slower, sharper, invisible between the moments they expect you to act. Patience becomes your camouflage. You let them speak first, reveal their fears, expose their timing. You count their breaths while giving none of your own away. The ones who mock your restraint don't see the warfare inside it, the discipline of waiting until the battlefield bends in your favor. There's an old language in your stillness now. an ancient rhythm used by hunters who didn't need to roar to kill. You've learned that the loudest predator is often the one pretending to be prey. They called you cold when you stopped reacting. They called you arrogant when you stopped explaining. But they never realized what you were building in that silence. A fortress of observation, a labyrinth of intent. Every insult they threw became a brick. Every betrayal, another layer of defense. You kept receipts not for revenge, but for calibration. Pain is data now, emotion ammunition. You no longer seek to be liked, you seek to be unreadable. Predictability is the death of power, and you've erased every trace of who you used to be from the map they used to find you. There is a beauty in restraint they'll never understand. The moment you stopped reacting was the moment you started controlling outcomes. You don't chase clarity, you create confusion. You speak when silence becomes too powerful to ignore. You act when timing has carved fear into their certainty. The new code runs through your veins like fire wrapped in ice. Speak little, move late, strike once. Each choice now is a blade hidden behind calm eyes. You've become your own weapon, crafted by betrayal, perfected by patience. You understand what they don't. Survival isn't about strength, it's about control, about being so quietly deliberate that even chaos waits for your signal. You're no longer fighting on their field, you've built your own, in shadows they can't navigate. They thought silence meant defeat, but silence was the counterattack all along. Pain was never your enemy, it was the messenger you silenced while begging for comfort. The betrayal that shattered your chest, the silence that followed when no one came to save you. Those weren't punishments, they were instructions. Every scar you carry is a line of code carved into your body, rewriting who you were allowed to be. You thought pain meant loss. You were wrong. Pain meant data. Pain meant access. And those who learn to read their wounds stop bleeding. They start calculating. There was a time when you mistook suffering for chaos, when you cursed the timing of your misfortune, thinking life had targeted you unfairly. But in truth, pain was calibrating you, stripping away vanity, polishing you into something more dangerous, something harder to predict. Every betrayal refined your judgment. Every rejection purified your hunger. You were not being destroyed. You were being sharpened against the stone of your own survival. The weak think the universe breaks them. The strong understand the fracture is the lesson. When they humiliated you, you didn't just lose trust. You gained evidence. You learned the architecture of deceit, the mathematics of manipulation. You began to see through smiles that didn't reach the eyes, promises that evaporated in daylight. Pain burned away your innocence and left behind awareness, an awareness so acute it could slice through pretense. That's how strength begins, in the unbearable clarity that no one is coming to save you, and that no one ever should. Pain is your currency now. You spend it in silence. You invest it in patience. You let it accumulate interest in the vaults of your mind until one day, the people who pitied you will whisper your name like a warning. You'll walk through rooms built to contain you and find that the locks no longer fit. Because pain rewired you. It replaced the soft architecture of hope with a colder, cleaner logic. Control what you can, endure what you must, and weaponize everything else. They taught you to fear wounds, but you wear them like ancient runes now. Each one marks a lesson paid in full. Each one reminds you of who failed you and how you adapted. When the world sees scars, you see coordinates. You trace them like constellations that map your transformation from victim to variable, from target to threat. Pain was never about suffering. It was the ritual of ascension. You burned, and what stepped out of the ashes wasn't you anymore. It was the version of you that doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't break. You stopped chasing light. You became the fire. You stopped breathing like prey. Every move is deliberate now, calculated in silence. The old version of you, the one who reacted, explained, justified, was a ghost built by fear. You buried that version without ceremony now. When you enter a room, people feel something shift. They can't name it, but they sense the absence of hesitation. You no longer feel silence, you weaponize it. The world moves fast, loud, desperate to prove something. You wait, you let them speak first. You let them reveal their insecurities before you decide whether they're useful or disposable. Patience has become your armor, unpredictability your language. You study faces the way hunters study wind. You notice what blinks, what flinches, what betrays emotion. Words are irrelevant, tone is everything. Timing is everything. Control isn't about dominance, it's about restraint. You speak less, yet every word lands heavier. You've learned that true power doesn't announce itself, it observes, collects, decides. When you finally act, it's surgical, never emotional. The weak call it manipulation. You call it strategy. You've learned to let others underestimate you, to smile when you already own the room. The old instincts whisper sometimes. Be kind, explain yourself, make peace. You silence them. You remember who used those words last time. The ones who lied with smiles, who bled you dry with patience you mistook for decency. Now you repay the world in precision. You don't chase, you calculate gravitational pull. They circle closer without knowing why. You become the storm disguised as still air, the calm that makes predators nervous. In chaos, you stay motionless. Motion is noise, and noise is weakness. You operate by a darker code now. Observation before reaction, delay before decision. You collect information like currency. The less you say, the more they reveal. When they expect you to break, you breathe slower. When they push, you yield an inch, then remove a mile from their control. You make silence uncomfortable until it bends to your will. That's when you strike, not to destroy, but to correct the imbalance. To remind the world that survival isn't kindness. It's calculation wrapped in discipline. You've seen what happens to those who stay soft. They dissolve in the mouths of louder men. You've seen what happens to those who seek validation. They become mirrors for someone else's reflection. But you've evolved past that. Your strength is quiet, your emotions refined into instruments. You've turned solitude into a fortress and memory into a map. Every betrayal, every humiliation, every scar has become an instruction manual written in blood. And as you stand in the dark, breathing steady, you realize the truth. Power was never about control over others. It was about control over yourself. The game ends when you stop playing by their rules. You are not a participant anymore. You are the system. The room is quiet now. The war drums in your head have gone still. And for the first time, you hear what silence actually sounds like. It's not peace, it's control. You used to crave noise, validation, the soft hum of approval that kept you obedient. Now you see it for what it was, a leash. Every smile that comforted you was a transaction. Every hand that lifted you up was measuring how much you owed. You mistook kindness for loyalty and pity for mercy. But mercy is what predators give to prey. You learned that too late, but you learned it well. Now when you walk, the air bends differently. The same people who once spoke over you now lower their voices. They sense something measured, restrained, unreadable. You don't rise to every bait, don't react to every insult. You let silence stretch until it suffocates. Your calm terrifies them more than your anger ever did. They can't read you, and it eats at them. You've become the mirror they fear to look into, because it reflects their weakness back at them without a word. You used to chase closure, explanations, apology. Now you know better. Closure is the weapon of those who can't stand uncertainty. You've turned uncertainty into your habitat. You move inside it, breathe through it, thrive where others freeze. Every scar is a coordinate now, every betrayal a compass. You don't forgive, you file. You don't forget, you adapt. Each person who wounded you built a part of your armor. Each humiliation taught you how to speak less, observe longer, strike cleaner. You are no longer what you were. You are what survived. The power you carry isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It hides in your posture, in the half-second delay before you answer, in the faint smile that doesn't reach your eyes. You no longer explain yourself because explanation is a luxury the powerful can't afford. Power doesn't need to announce. It observes, it decides, it waits, and when it moves, it ends things. The old version of you, the one that apologized for existing, has been buried in unmarked ground. The new you doesn't build monuments, you build empires in silence. You're not healed, you're evolved. You don't seek justice anymore. You understand balance. You don't crave revenge, you crave precision. And when people wonder why they can't predict your next move, it's because you haven't decided who dies yet. Not in blood, but in relevance. You kill distractions, you kill noise, you kill the version of yourself that needed to be liked. Power is quiet now, ruthless cold, unapologetic, comfort kills. Silence wins, weakness bleeds. And you finally learned how to stop bleeding.